Are you for her now, unequivocally, or do you want to wait to see if she takes your advice on moving to a more progressive agenda?
I think like a lot of people in this country, I want to see a vision. And again, that would be true of candidates on all levels. It's time to see a clear, bold vision for progressive economic change.
You're technically not yet endorsing her.
No, not until I see, and I would say this about any candidate, till I see an actual vision of where they want to go. I think she's a tremendous public servant. I think she is one of the most qualified people to ever run for this office. And by the way, thoroughly vetted. We can say that. But we need to see the substance.
All right, let's see the substance. That was Bill de Blasio, unfortunately mayor of the city that I'm in, and also, of course, ran Hillary's campaign for Senate back in New York when she ran, but he's not endorsing her yet. Joining us on the Malzberg panel, Larry Elder, radio host and author of Dear Father, Dear Son, 2 Lives, 8 Hours, and David Goodfriend, Democratic strategist, former deputy staff secretary to President Clinton. David, so she's running, surprise, surprise, and why do you think de Blasio? I mean, is this something that the progressive wing of the party is going to be crying for more and more, that she has to move way to the left?
I actually think that Hillary Clinton has answered this question for you when she says that she wants to fight for every single vote and not take anything for granted and run a campaign as if she's 10 points behind. And I think Mayor de Blasio underscores that by saying, I'm not just going to blindly give support. I want her to earn my support. And I think that's exactly right. And that's what she's doing in Iowa. That's what she's going to do across the country. And I actually commend the mayor for saying, let's see what's there. And we learned today, rather yesterday, we learned that mid-May, when the campaign launches in earnest and she's able to come out with policy pronouncements, we'll get a lot more of those details. And I think that's perfectly appropriate. We're in a ramp-up phase now, and the campaign announces policy positions as time goes on.
Larry, she's pulling out the playbook from when she ran for the Senate with this cockamamie listening tour. And I don't know anybody less sincere than Hillary Clinton saying, I want to listen to you.
Well, where's the there? She's been first lady. She's been senator. She's been reelected as senator. She served for several years as secretary of state. What is her accomplishment? What's her goal? What's her achievement? And this business about being for the middle class, everybody's for the middle class. What has Obama done to advance the interests of the middle class? The middle class is worse off since when Obama took over. Black poverty is higher than when Obama took over. Where's the agenda? What's the policy prescription? Other than another 4 years of the same 2 years under Obama.
Right. And David, what Mayor de Blasio said was he wants to see more taxes on the rich. He wants to see higher wages and benefits. And he wants to see, a very progressive economic agenda. Is she going to come out and run on tax the rich, on this populist nonsense that we're so used to hearing from what is now the Democratic Party?
Well, just to respond to what my colleague here said, let's go back to Ronald Reagan and the question he asked when he was running for re-election. He said, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Well, if that question is posed to Americans this time around, are you better off than you were when George Bush left office? Well, let's see here. We've cut unemployment in half. We've doubled the stock market. We've got 16 million more Americans on health insurance. I think people are going to say, yes.
Oh, I disagree.
Yes,
I disagree.
Yes, but I want to feel more
and of course I do too.
I want to know that wages are going to keep pace with inflation. So I don't think Hillary Clinton's going to run away in any way from the economic record of Barack Obama. I think instead what she's saying is now people are concerned about keeping the gains we're starting to make. Is it going to flow to the top 1% of Americans, or is it going to flow to me? I'm working, I'm earning a wage, I'm having trouble keeping pace with inflation. I want my kids to go to college, I want a secure retirement.
Larry, the economy in this country stinks. The reason the unemployment rate has gone down is because the workforce participation is the lowest in 45, 50 years.
That's right.
The jobs that people do have are low paying, much lesser than they used to have. More people are on food stamps and assistance than ever before in our history. And that's what she's going to run on, keeping it going?
Yeah, this has been a 2% growth. Most recoveries are 3%. Ronald Reagan's was 4%, twice this. And if the labor force participation rate were at the same level as when Obama took office, we're talking about almost 10% unemployment because so many people are underemployed or working part-time when they want to work full-time. This has been a crappy recovery. And if Hillary runs on how wonderful this recovery is, she's going to be in big, big trouble.
10 seconds, David. Go ahead.
She's talking about keeping the gains for middle-class Americans and fighting big interests, and she's qualified to do it.
Well, she's an out-of-touch elitist multimillionaire. I don't know how she's qualified to do it. She's never dealt with an economy before in any way, shape, or form. But we're coming
Ted
back.
Cruz?
More on the
Ted
panel.
Cruz?
Don't go away. Coming back. All right, we're back with the Malzberg panel. Larry Elder and David Goodfriend. And Larry, let me start with you on Marco Rubio. I mean, here's another guy with a great story. Then if he was a Democrat, you would know the whole life story of Marco Rubio and, you know, his whole, the Cuban and his parents and everything. Just like you would know Rand Paul has, you know, performed hundreds of operations pro bono down in South Africa, South American countries, etc. But, you know, instead they'll find something, they'll bring up the glass of water again and they'll try to make a mockery out of him. How serious a chance do you think Marco Rubio has, Larry?
I think he's got a real serious chance, and you're right. If he were a Democrat, they'd be talking about the first credible Latino to run for president. They'd be talking about his wonderful resume, that his parents came from Cuba as exiles, and he's become this incredible politician. But because he's a Republican, of course, he's going to be hammered by some fellow Latinos for being a sellout, for being a Tio Taco. But a fresh face, his liability is he's a freshman senator. We've had a freshman senator in office for the last 8 years. How did that work out?
Yeah, no, well, you know, Ted Cruz differentiated himself certainly from Obama when they tried to tag him with Obama credentials. David, what about Rubio?
Well, I think that he's a very charismatic speaker, and he's looks very good on television, and I think that he's young and a fresh face. I do think, though, that the issue is not the kind of identity politics you guys are talking about. It's really what he stands for. I mean, this is a guy who says talking about women making a comparable wage is a waste of time and is silly. This is a guy who says that raising the minimum wage won't do anything. I mean, I think the economic populism that this moment calls for, he is completely out of step with. He's sort of like Mitt Romney in Cuban clothing. I don't think he's got the goods to actually argue to the American people.
Well, if anybody's Mitt Romney in different clothing, it's Hillary. But that aside, you know, Hillary's foundation doesn't pay women the same. Obama's White House doesn't pay women the same. None of these two-bit Democrat hypocrites pay women the same. So this is another distortion. And you're right, unfortunately, David and Larry, as you know, Larry, the media will, if he said that, will pick up on that, but leave alone the actual people who are perpetuating the problem and not improving the problem, which isn't even a problem in the first place, Larry, as you know.
And speaking of identity politics, are you kidding me? How many times is Hillary going to whip out the gender card? How many cracks in the glass ceiling has she made because she's a woman? I am woman, hear me roar. They're all about identity politics. That's what the Democratic Party is, a combination, a coalition of special interests around gender, around race, and around class. That's what the party's all about. They're not about ideas. They're not about growth. They're about, you screwed me, you shafted me, you messed over me. I'm here for you because you're a woman, because you're a black guy, because you're gay. That's what that whole party stands for.
David,
Wait a second. Now, this is really interesting to me. I was responding to your comments about if this guy were a Democrat, they'd be talking about, you know, he's Latino and look at all these great
things. That's exactly what you guys would be talking about. You'd be emphasizing his ethnicity. Yes, you would.
I actually think what's really going to matter here is the American people are concerned about their economic future, concerned about a dangerous world. This is going to be a serious campaign about issues. I don't think this is going to be a place where a fluffy candidate who just wants to talk about feeling good and make good speeches is going to make it. I think this time around, it's really brass tacks.
All right, well then, David, let Hillary defend her for her foreign policy record, the state of the world, Russia, the Middle East. Let her defend all that. But for crying out loud, if we had a fair media, she'd be forced to defend the Clinton Foundation taking money from countries that treat women like dirt, the fact that her foundation pays women less than men, the top earners in the foundation are men. When she was senator, the same thing. Instead of saying, oh, Marco Rubio said that's a waste of time. So that gets your focus instead of Hillary, who can make a difference, who doesn't. And on that note, gentlemen, I have to go. Larry Elder and David Goodfriend, I thank you both. Coming up next,
Thank you.
Give Me Five. But first, Due to popular demand, folks, we'll be bringing back our viewer call-in segment here on the Steve Malzberg Show. We've been bringing it back. We're going to even increase it. So if you want to weigh in, you have a suggestion for the show, you want to weigh in on the issues of the day, and I prefer it to be the issues of the day, here's what you do. You have to email us. You email us at callsteve@newsmax.com. Callsteve@newsmax.com. Give us your name, your location, how to contact you, and we'll set you up. We want to hear from you.